What are all the reasons why it is so hard for individuals to continue to stay motivated, to continue to come back week in and week out, and continue to train and take care of their body? What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Kettlebell Guys podcast. My name is Coach Grant. I am one of the Kettlebell Guys. And on this podcast, I want to talk about a conversation that I ended up having today. It was me and Sean and a client of ours. We had the absolute pleasure of going and playing golf today with one of our clients at a place called Bobo Links here in Chicago, which apparently I found out today is a very private golf course. So shout out to our guy David for being able to get us on the course. But the point of this podcast is to talk about the conversation that we were having at the end of the round. We were sitting there, and one of the things we were talking about was how challenging it is to stay consistent when it comes to working out. We were talking about why we're trying to dig into understanding what are all the reasons why it is so hard for individuals to continue to stay motivated, to continue to come back week in and week out and continue to train and continue to work out and continue to take care of their body. Because so many people have trouble being consistent when it comes to taking care of their body from a workout perspective, from a pure exercise perspective. And because one of the things that started this conversation was David had said to us, he said, you know, what's funny, it's like if you could bottle up that feeling, that post-workout feeling, you could sell it, you'd be a billionaire. And it's funny because we do sell that, but it's a lot harder to sell when you can't just pop a pill or take a swig and immediately get that feeling, when you have to put in the work in order to get it. We got into this big long conversation. We were trying to identify, so what are the big things? Like, what's the actual reason why it's so hard for people to be consistent? And for the sake of this conversation and for the sake of this podcast, what we're going to do is we're going to take out the excuse of not having any time. I get it. I hear you and I see you. If you're a person listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, Grant, I've got kids at home. I work an incredibly stressful job. I work 50, 60, 70 hour weeks. I travel a lot. I've got a busy social life. I take my kids to all of these different things on the weekends. During the week, I'm working. I don't have any time. Well, number one, I see you and I hear you. And I think that it is completely understandable that you feel like you were squeezed on time. But for the sake of this conversation, let's use the idea that you do have the time. Let's think about like that time at night where you sit and watch Netflix at the end of the day. Let's say that's a little bit of time. Or the time that you'd scroll on your phone during the day. Let's say that that's a little bit of time. Or maybe the hitting snooze on the alarm clock in the morning and sleeping an extra 30 to 60 minutes. Let's say that's where we find the time. Or the lunch hour, whatever it is. Let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, that you do have the time, even if you feel like you don't. We were talking about this, so we were sitting there and we were like, okay, trying to identify what's the real thing that gets men and women to be consistent when it comes to working out. Why is it so hard? And we were trying to identify what are the few key things that would drive that for someone. Because David was saying, I feel so great after I work out. Like I have all this resistance to working out, but even though I get to the end of the workout and I always feel great, yet the next morning I wake up and that feeling is gone, right? And that the lack of motivation sets back in, and the thought process of having to go and do it again, even though I know that the outcome is going to be something that, like, the outcome of the workout is going to be incredible. I'm going to feel awesome. I still wake up almost like dreading having to do that workout. And the idea of having any sort of motivation is vanished. It's gone. And so there were three big things that I think we identified, if I look back on this conversation, that me and Sean and David were sitting around talking about. And I think we identified three key things in terms of what you need in order to create a level of consistency when it comes to working out. Because Sean and I, let's just say, you look at Sean and I, and both Sean and I have spent the last 15 plus years, probably more, working out 4 to 5 days a week. Now, we have an advantage, right? Because we're in the fitness industry. Now, Sean wasn't always in the fitness industry. He was in the finance industry when he first started his career. But for the majority of my career, I've been in the fitness industry. So I've been in this industry of working out. That's part of what I do for a living, right? So inherently, I guess that's kind of a leg up, as you would say. But regardless, Sean and I are both humans. We are both just like you. We both experience our own lack of motivation or lack of feeling like we want to do it when it comes to our workouts, just like everybody else feels. But we've created a pretty long track record of being consistent. And so we're sitting there trying to figure out what are the big things that drive consistency for people when it comes to working out. And there were three things I think we identified. So number one was that you have to have an outcome that matters to you. And so you have to have an outcome that you truly care about. And so for everyone, that's different, right? For everyone, some people that's body composition. Some people that's like how you feel in your own skin, the confidence level that you have when it comes to walking around with your shirt off at the beach, at the pool, like how you want to feel in your own skin. Some people, it's the example that they want to set for their kids, for their family. It is the example that maybe they never had that they want to set for those around them. For some people, it's the idea of longevity. For you might be thinking, some guys might be listening to this in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, and you might be thinking about, well, what do I want to be able to do when I'm in my 50s, my 60s, my 70s? And you might be looking at people in your life who are in their 70s, in their 80s, and you look at their quality of life and you think to yourself, boy, that is not the way that I want to look when I'm 80 years old. And so some of you, it's longevity driven, but I think regardless, there has to be an outcome that truly matters. And it was funny, David even brought up another idea of outcome that matters. David was talking, because David's a big golfer. He's an incredible golfer. And he was talking about how I know that if I was in better shape, if I trained consistently, worked out consistently, got stronger, built more muscle, built more power, that it would impact my golf game. And he was almost sitting there having this epiphany at the table of like, well, he's like, actually, if I started to equate the consistency from a workout perspective to my golf, then that's probably something that would start to drive more of a habit and action from me, because I really truly care about getting better at this game, this sport that I love playing. And so if it's not just working out to work out, basically a lot of guys are like, a lot of guys, the motivation to work out just to work out, like that ain't going to stick, right? If you don't have that outcome where it's like, I know that it's going to impact this. So for David, it was his golf game. If I can equate that, then it's going to be like, all right, I'm willing to go through the pain. I'm willing to go through the soreness. I'm willing to go through the hardship that you have to actively put yourself through in order for the outcome to be worth it, in order for you to actually achieve the outcome that's worth it to you. So that's number one. It's like, you got to have an outcome that's worth it to you. And so like, one of the first things that we talk to guys, when we talk to guys who are interested in kettlebell transformation, we'll ask them about their goals. We'll ask them about, okay, well, what's your goals? Each height, weight, where do you actually want to be when it comes to body composition perspective? But one of the other big things we ask them is, what's the why? Like, why is it important? What's the thing that's going to be driving you long after motivation wears off? Because it will wane. Like, motivation is going to wane. You're not going to be excited 3 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, 12 weeks from now. So have an outcome that matters to you. That's number one. Now, number two is you have to have some level of external accountability. You have to have some level of someone, something, or you investing into something that's going to make it so much so that you cannot ignore it. And one of the examples is men come to kettlebell transformation, and one of the biggest reasons why they will join KT is because of how serious of an investment it is to join the coaching program, to join our like full-on training, personalized nutrition, one-on-one coaching program. One of the biggest reasons why guys will choose to join is because they make a serious commitment financially to the program and to themselves, one that they cannot ignore. And we then give them the playbook. We give them the roadmap when it comes to training. We personalize the nutrition plan to them. And then you actually have an individual, a coach, a real human being who cares about you, who gets to know you, who coaches you through this program one by one, who customizes this to you on a weekly basis, and who most of all ensures and holds you accountable to showing up and doing the work that you have to do in order to produce the outcome that you want. You have to have some level of accountability. You have to be invested. And for most guys, they come to KT, you go to our Trustpilot, you read review after review. They talk about how the investment was one of the biggest pieces of their success because it was one they could not ignore. I think one of our guys posted in our group saying, I invested enough to where I couldn't ignore the work, and now it's all paying off because I've been in the program for 3+ years. And so that's a huge part for guys, is because otherwise, if you continuously go down the route, so if you think about it from an investment standpoint, you think about it from a choosing to spend your hard-earned money on your health and invest it into yourself. Well, if you're always investing into a $100 program, $50 PDF, even a $200 a month gym that you don't, it's like, whether I go or not, it doesn't really matter, because you can go spend $200 on a Friday night, on a Wednesday night, for goodness sakes, Taco Tuesday, like $200. And I know that because Sean and I owned a gym for a long time, and we had members who would pay for the gym every month, and we would see them a couple times, if at all. And so I know that when you only make those small investments into those things, there's very little accountability that comes along with it. And it's mostly from your perception of how accountable and how invested you are into the solution. And so that's number 2, is you have to be accountable. I'll give you one more example of this. It's funny. Some guys say to Sean and I, and Sean loves to use this example. Some guys say to Sean and I, they say, yeah, well, you guys don't pay to be held accountable for your fitness. Well, that's not necessarily true. Sean and I, we run a pretty large health and fitness business that has an over 6-figure bill every month when it comes to the expenses tied to this business. And so not only do we pay a lot to continue to run this business and to try to help as many men as we can to really make the decision to go be accountable to their own health and fitness. And so Sean and I very much so look at the investment that we make every month into this business, and we view it as our own accountability, because not only do we financially invest every month into our team and our program and our community and our members, but not only do we financially invest, but also we have a reputation to uphold. Our entire team has a reputation to uphold. Like, whether we like it or not, we are in the public eye. It's probably not a very big public eye at this point, but we are in the public eye. Our members are watching us. People who are outside of the program are watching us. You guys listening to this podcast, you guys are watching us. And so there's a lot of accountability that I feel, and that I know Sean feels, to everyone who is viewing kettlebell transformation as this could be a solution that could really help me truly change my lifestyle the way that I want to change it. And so without a doubt, we feel a responsibility and a level of accountability to be living the lifestyle and to be accountable to the lifestyle that we live, that we ask all of our members to live. We have to live it on a daily basis. We have to live it on an every day, every minute, every day, every week, every month basis, because we have to prove that it is possible. We have to prove that you can come in and run this system for 10, 12, 14, 16 years, because it's what we've been doing, and to show for the people who are watching this program what's actually possible. And so we absolutely have accountability. We have accountability to you. I have accountability to my team. I have accountability to all of our community, every single one of the KT members. We absolutely have accountability to that. And so number 1, you have to have an outcome that matters. Number 2, you have to have a level of accountability. You have to be accountable to something, someone. Number 3, and I think this is the biggest one. This is it, because this one drives, I think, both of the first 2. And it's potentially the underlying thing for both of these. But I think at the end of the day, we were sitting at this table, we were talking about what's the actual thing that continues to drive people to be consistent working out. And I think the core is that you just have the desire. You just have the desire. And it is a never ending, never ceasing. It is an infinite game of desire. You get to a point where you desire to be the human being. You desire to act in accordance with the human being that you want to be. And I know that the single best version of me works out every week, takes care of his body every week. The best version of me doesn't not do that, if that makes sense. Double negative. The best version of me shows up, consistently pushes himself, consistently works out, stresses his body, builds muscle, keeps his body fat percentage in check, keeps his visceral fat down low, and keeps his body where he wants it to be. Not only because I enjoy the confidence that it gives me, I enjoy being strong, I enjoy being fit, I enjoy being confident with my shirt off, all of those things, but also I understand the quality of life that I want to live for the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 plus years, barring something outside of my control. But the things I can control, I'm going to control it because I know the best version of me. I desire to be the best version of me when it comes to my health and my fitness. And that is a desire that's like, once I sign that contract with myself, I can't let go of it. I personally just could not imagine going a week, 2 weeks, a month without working out. I just couldn't do it because I have a desire to make that work in my life. And so I think that's the number one thing. If you're thinking about, well, what do I need to consistently be motivated? You got to think about, why don't you, if you don't work out consistently and you know you want to lose weight and you know you want to get healthier, there's this version of you that is better than where you are now, but you're not taking the actions in order to go create that version of you, you have to ask yourself the question, why don't I have the desire at the core fundamental level? Why don't I have that? Why is that missing? And I don't know. I don't know why that is for you. I can't give you an answer. You have to answer that. And so it's an outcome that matters to you. And it might not be physical. It might be body composition. It might be you need to get better at golf. You need to be accountable. You need to be accountable to someone. You need to be accountable to you. You need to be invested, because the more you pay attention. It doesn't mean you have to join Kettlebell Transformation. It's funny. I know Sean was talking to a prospective client, and he said, listen, even if we're not the right fit for you, you should look at your budget for health and fitness, whatever your budget is, and you should choose a program that you spend all of that budget. Spend all of that budget on your health and fitness, because then you will be invested. You will make a decision that you can't ignore, and then you will have to follow through, because you will have skin in the game and you will be accountable to it. And then number 3, ultimately you have to have the desire. Because what I think personally, these 3 things create, and this is what I'll leave you with, I think that these 3 things create consistency, create longevity. They create this just eventually gets put on autopilot to the point where this becomes very normal for you. Like, think about brushing your teeth. Like, you don't have to get up in the morning and be motivated to brush your teeth. And you probably don't have to think about the outcome that matters to you. You don't have to be accountable to it. You don't have to have like this desire. You just do it. You just wake up and do it, because you know you have to do it. Even if you have resistance to doing it. Even if you wake up and you're like, yeah, man, that's like, I'd rather sit down and work, or I'm rushing, right? Or whatever it is, right? You just do it, even if you have resistance to it. And I think you created that from building the habit as a kid, and then just doing it for years without thinking about it. You just got up and did it, despite any emotions or feelings around the action. And I think that the same thing happens for people when they choose to consistently work out. Is if you give yourself enough time, you have to give yourself a long enough period of time to where you continuously show up despite how you feel. You will get to a point where you won't not do it. It doesn't mean you won't have feelings around like, boy, this workout sounds like it's going to be hard today. Yeah, sure, it's going to be hard. Yeah, for sure. I feel that all the time, but I'm not going to do it. And you will get to that point. And once you get to that point, then it'll be set. But you have to put in the time. You have to put in the years and potentially the decades of showing up and doing it, showing up and working out every week, until you get to a point where that's just what you do. But here's the thing. You're willing to go through all that period of where you show up and you do it despite not wanting to do it, because once you get to a point where it's on autopilot, that's when you're in the years of your life where you're actually going to enjoy it, where you're going to look back on your 30-year-old self, or you're going to look back on your 40-year-old self, or you're going to look back on your 50-year-old self, and you're going to thank yourself for forcing you to show up every week, week in and week out, continuously finding the reason to show up and work out. Because now you're 75 and you're running around in the backyard with your grandkids, and you're not winded, and you have all energy all day long to run around with your grandkids, and you can go on hikes with them, and you can go skiing with them, and you can play basketball with them, and you can throw the football around with them, and you're thinking and the quality of life. And then you can go on trips with your wife, and you can go walk around the city for hours on hours and not get tired, and you can enjoy the life that you have, because you spent the days and the weeks and the time invested in continuously showing up until you got to that point where I'm not going to do this. And I promise you, man, if you just allow yourself to do that and get through those stupid emotions that we all deal with that are trying to give us all the resistance to showing up and doing the work, boy, your 70, 75, 80, 85-year-old self will be so damn proud of you and so grateful, because you will be quite literally around for longer. You will add years to your life, but you will add years that you actually enjoy. And so whatever you got to do, if you're struggling with motivation when it comes to working out and being consistent, if you have not stacked weeks in a row of training 3-4 days a week, every week, if you have not started to stack weeks, if you can look back objectively at the last week, last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks, and you haven't worked out, then you either got to find an outcome that matters to you. You got to find a way to be accountable. And you got to figure out why you don't have the desire. And if you don't have the desire, if you don't care, then this podcast wasn't for you. It's not the right podcast to be listening to. But if you were listening to this podcast, I can assume that you have the desire. And you got to figure out why that desire hasn't turned into action. And that will lead you towards the first steps that you need to take in order to start creating the momentum. So with that being said, I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys had a very strong week. And I'll see you guys in the next pod. And if you need help, check out Kettlebell Transformation. Transformation.co. Follow us on Instagram. Kettlebell Sean, Kettlebell Grant. What we do all day long is help guys Find those 3 things and then go create the consistency that's going to transform the rest of their life. So check us out online. And otherwise, I hope you have a very strong week and a great weekend because it's Friday today. Talk to you guys later.